Hello everyone, my name is Lau Neverhart, and today for my speech I'm going to be talking about mental illness among veterans. My audience is two adults over there, my wife and my sister. And let's get right into it. So, everyone needs help nowadays. Like everyone just like from your sister, your brother, your mom, your dad, and you'd be surprised that some of these people that are needing help that don't ask for it are veterans, which they're family members and friends just like the rest of us. And veterans around the globe and especially in the United States, they struggle with depression and many other mental illnesses. And according to the VA statistics, 22 veterans a day commit suicide. And that itself is a crazy number, and the fact that 22 people every single day are losing their lives to something that can be very easily taken care of just by looking into the problem and focusing on people that need help. And a lot of these people are asking for help and they don't receive the help that they really need. And one thing leads to another. They end up going down a road that they can't come back from. I know when I was in the military, I was a combat medic, a 68 whiskey, and I had the firsthand experience watching a lot of my own guys and a lot of my own people struggling with depression and mental illness. And I know I have a story. One of my soldiers, I'm going to leave his name out for this privacy purposes, but one of my soldiers that I had, he was a very young kid that came in. He was 19 years old, and he was struggling with depression. And first day this morning, we went out there, we were working out, and he didn't look right. And I saw this, and I'm like, oh, I think he might be drunk, or he might be have done something that he shouldn't have. And I pull him to the side. I'm like, hey man, is everything all right? And he proceeds to kind of break down to me, and he says that he tried to take his life. I immediately, take him to the hospital. He told me that he took an entire bottle of his antidepressants, something that is used to help with depression. And the fact that he used an antidepressant to take his own life is very, very ironic and messed up. The fact that, this mental health is that bad for just in the military and with veterans. But I took care of him and made sure that he got the help that he needed. But due to the stigma in the military, he sadly, even though I did everything I could to help him and make sure that he got as much help as he could, he was resulted to some bad treatment from, a lot of military officials and just, a lot of everyone around us besides me, just other infantrymen and other guys. They saw this and they, looked down upon him and they thought he was weak for what he did. And, I think that's wrong. But I know the stigma, just they say that you're not being a man or you're a woman even, which is very wrong, very sexist and everything by saying, oh, oh, you a girl, you're going to seek help, or come on, back in my day, especially a lot of the older veterans will say back in my day, and they'll say, I didn't need help. We didn't have that sort of thing. We rubbed it off and, we got over what needed to be happened. We got over everything. And, this is probably one of the reasons why suicide rate is so high among veterans is because, they're trained to not seek for help and to stay alone. So when something like that happens, then, they don't get help. And it just results into something bad happening. Now, one of the things that we can ask ourselves is what they could have gone through and just all their experiences and how the veterans with mental illness have just gotten to this point. And one of the things is their experiences. A lot of veterans were in combat experiences, and even if they weren't in combat experiences, a lot of veterans use you a lot of experiences that they have that were traumatic, such as, they saw somebody get injured, they saw something that they, really shouldn't have seen, something that they don't feel comfortable talking about. It can even be sexual assault or just like sexual misconduct in the military. And, that's tragic. And I know one of the things that we'll we'll get around to talking about is there is non-profit organizations and non-military organizations out there that, help veterans, and they'll do everything they can to make sure that they're getting the assistance that they need. And they'll address the fact that, 22 veterans every day, and they'll make it more recognized and more known that 22 veterans a day are committing suicide, which in total it's around 8,000, like 23 veterans a year, which is insane. That's just a rough estimate. But that's a lot of people to be losing a very tragic battle that they could have been winning. And by those statistics, the VA has determined that every veteran is 1 in 3 veterans is dealing with some sort of mental illness or depression. And 1 in 3 is a lot. And, we really need to focus on, what we can do and how we can help everyone that is struggling with that depression. Now, I'd like to go into the detail about the stigma and everything from the military and the judgment as well. Just a little bit more about how just veterans will be judged and they'll be looked down upon. They'll be looked upon like they're weaker, and that but sorry, my mic cut out. But they'll be looked down upon like they're not men, and that nothing is happening, and that they're just weak, and that's terrible. And that will lead to a lot of veterans not wanting to get help. It'll cause them to feel like they're alone and feel like that no matter what they do, they can't get help because they'll be looked down upon by their friends and their family and, people that they care about. And sadly, a lot of this is true to this day. A lot of older individuals, will have this negative mindset and this very old-fashioned way of thinking when it comes to mental health. And a lot of that is really, stapled in the military, and it's just very toxic. And like there's a lot of toxic masculinity. And it's not just for like everything that is applied to men in the military is applied to women almost more, because women who want to seek mental health, if a man wants to seek mental health and it's called a woman, when a woman seeks, help for mental health and depression, she seemed like even lower than like what they want her to be. Like instead of her being equal, they call her less than being a woman, which is wrong. Now, I'd like to talk about one of the not like what can we do to help. And one of the things that we can do to help is there is a non-profit organization called the Till Valhalla Project. They help a lot of veterans by funding just a lot of the mental health programs and therapy that is used for veterans, which is really awesome. But one of the things I want to make sure just to go on is like there are organizations out there. I know I named one of them. Till Valhalla Project is a very, very amazing organization, but they're out there. They're using a lot of their own money, and what they do is they raise sales from their shirts and a lot of other things that they sell, and it'll actually be, phrased in ways that help break the stigma. So, it has a lot of things that, encourage seeking help and suicide awareness and, PTSD awareness and everything like that. So they're trying to break that stigma that is surrounded in the military and with the veterans. I know they donate free plaques and, like I said, they'll fund a lot of veteran programs to help them, which is amazing. They'll use their resources to make sure that veterans don't feel alone. There's a lot of veteran outreach groups out there, and especially through them that they'll have to make sure that they're able to talk to people that have been through the same experiences or similar experiences so they can relate and, have almost like a friend working through it with them. Now, this everything that I've gone through today, the 22 veterans a day, commit suicide from struggling with mental health and depression. And the Till Valhalla Project and other organizations are out there to make sure that they're able to get help. And one of the biggest takeaways that we can take away today, and you can go home and think about, is just, identifying and recognizing, veterans have problems. And remembering that statistic that 1 in 3 veterans are feeling this depression and, all these mental health problems. So even if they're not saying anything, they are undoubtedly going through something, which that's very important to remember. And, we can just do our best to understand what they're going through and to, be there and to assist in any way that we can by, promoting mental health and seeking help. And, that's one of the biggest things that we can do. Now that we understand what we can do and just how we can help, then we know that we can do it. And we have everything out there in front of us for it. Now, let's be the heroes that our heroes need. Because in their time, they did everything that they could for us. Now it's time that we do everything that we can for them. Thank you so much for listening.